Rebellions are built on hope.
Save the dream!
Save the dream!
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
I love how winded he is when he's like saying that. Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
How Saw Gerrera went from the straight G in Clone Wars to this wigged out man is amazing.
Oh, love it.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Another happy landing. We're here. I had to take another week off for some family in town, but we're back now. So before we get into it, thanks to the Movie Meal patrons, Steve, Kimberly, and Karen. Go get some merch. Follow on Letterbox. All linked in the description. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that amazing stuff. All right, so for this episode, we're going to be talking Bad Batch first, then we're going to talk about the Visions trailer, and then we're going to review Rogue One for our rewatch. So let's start with Bad Batch first. So Tanner, what did you think of the finale and then the show overall?
Oh, weirdly enough, I enjoyed the finale, but it felt like a little bit of a letdown compared to the previous episode. I wasn't over the moon about it. I mean, granted, it's a fun, like, we're just gonna try to survive this crazy situation we're in, but I don't know. I just feel like it didn't really do or add much to things. It just seemed like a fun escape episode. Though, I mean, we did get like a fun little bit of finding out that like Omega is really older than everyone. So, I mean, like, there's a few dangling threads that have been like placed in there. We get a little bit more conversations between like Crosshair and his what's going on with him and why he's doing what he's doing. I did kind of like the we're even kid kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, like, last episode I'd probably give like an 8.5 or 9, but like this episode I gotta bring it down to like a 7. Like, good, watchable, but just not what I was expecting. What were your thoughts?
I like the finale quite a bit. It definitely is underwhelming, especially when you end with the Empire obliterating the planet and the main city. But I still ended up liking it. I did not think Crosshair was going to save her. I was very much thinking he was going to kill Hunter. And so I liked that. I liked the stuff with AZ. He is slowly becoming one of my favorite droids. I liked Omega going to save him. I do agree it was underwhelming, but I liked the personal stuff and I liked the personal story it told about them. And I know last episode we got the reveal that he had the chip removed and that he is doing this because he wants to. And I really like that angle. I liked the quote too, where he says, now we're even, and he does have a little bit of morals to him. And
Right.
I wonder if Crosshair ends up becoming a bounty hunter maybe eventually, and eventually might leave the Empire. But I like that we're getting a season 2. I'm curious where it will go. Be kind of cool to do a time skip and get Omega a little older. But yeah, I liked it. It is a bit underwhelming, and I think people just were hoping for a big action battle, and we just ended up not getting it for the finale. I did like that the clone, the Camino scientist, goes to the kind of Empire scientist because he's wearing the same kind of symbols and jacket that the guy in Mandalorian is wearing. So I wonder if we're going to get some small connections, maybe even a little baby Grogu might show up, maybe we get a reference in season 2, which would be kind of fun. But overall, I think the show is good. I think it's a good first season. It's tight. I never felt like there were any like real crazy bad episodes. There's a couple episodes that weren't my favorite, but there was none that I like desperately didn't love. I think the Crosshair finding them on the wreckage was my probably favorite set of episodes, where he gets the scar from getting blown up. I think that was probably it. But overall, I think it's a solid show. I mean, it's only one season. Do I like this season more than season 1 of Clone Wars? I think so. I think it's tighter. Season 1 of Rebels, probably
also not to mention the animation being like on
light years better.
Fire compared to season 1 of that one. Oh my god.
There are parts in Bad Batch where it looks like live action. It's so good. But yeah, I think it's a good show. When we do I want to marinate on it a little bit. So when we redo our I know we talk about it in these episodes, our rankings of where things are being put, but I know we'll do another episode at the end. I'm gonna throw Bad Batch in there where I
Hmm.
think it belongs at the very end because I want to marinate on it a little bit. I
Agreed.
might rewatch parts of it as well. But you got anything else on Bad Batch or?
I guess I exactly like you're talking about, Alex. I know with the I know a lot of people talking about how they wanted this like big, just crazy fight there at the end. I guess for me personally, maybe I was just kind of hoping for a little bit more of I don't know. Maybe either they run into the lab and we find out a few other secrets, either one about the Bad Batch, why Omega was created, or I don't know, just some other clone things that were happening. I feel like there's a number of like unleft um like mysteries and questions that are still floating around that could have been answered. Um and I don't know. The other part of that is I think it would have been nice if we had gotten a little bit more of like one, where are the clones and what are they planning on doing with them, and some of that's being saved for season two, or at
Yeah,
least I get the sense that they're being saved for season two. We did get the nice little bit of Nala Say rolling up and being like, oh, you will be a great asset to the Empire,
yeah,
um, which makes me think that they're trying to like link in um cloning of Palpatine kind of
yeah, and they
stuff.
might, which I kind of would be okay with if we got a little bit more explanation of that because it sucks. And every time we watch one of the movies, I just dread getting closer and closer to Red Skywalker.
I know I to be entirely frank, I wish they would just drop that whole plot thread. I get
Ugh.
that it's that Dave Filoni's like trying to tie it in, make it cool, blah blah blah, but it's
Well, that's all
such a bad plot
speculation
thread.
too.
Right.
He might just be linking it to Grogu, and he might not be linking it outside of just they had a cloner, so it's going to go with this empire focused on cloning and creating armies and things like that, and DNA and
Side
analysis.
tangent. I would love to get an interview with Dave Filoni just to see. I know this will never ever happen, but like I'm
Never.
dreadfully curious as to what his thoughts are on the sequel trilogy. Like
Yeah.
I would love to sit down and just have a conversation like, so overall, what are your thoughts?
Got the
And
NDAs you'd have to sign that you would never spill the beads because you know he probably's got some things to say about it.
oh,
But
100%. But he's so tight-lipped with that, he is.
yeah,
But overall, I mean, I don't know. I thought like you said, the animation I thought was good. I thought the beginning episode, maybe beginning like the first episode, loved it.
yeah,
Second to last episode, loved it. Um, and I want to say the second episode, and then a few other episodes in here and there in between. I actually really enjoyed. The one where they went to Rack. I'm forgetting the name of the
Wreckage Planet.
No, not the Wreckage Planet. The although I mean that was a fun tie-in, and like seeing the little bit of Wrecker like turning for a quick second. I thought that was fun. But overall, like I am kind of bummed in terms of like I think character-wise, we really only get Hunter and Omega that are really kind of fleshed out during this whole thing. And
Yeah,
they really only feel like it's a middling fleshing out as well. I was really kind of hoping for a little bit more. Uh but our other clones just kind of seem to be falling in this like 80s action like movie heroes trope, almost, I mean, a lot like the Expendables, uh
yeah,
or something of that nature. And I mean, I personally I actually enjoy that stuff. I love my 80s action movies, and I mean it's also just nice to be able to come in and have like some archetypal characters that you know how they're going to operate, who they are, what they do, blah blah blah. But uh the Clone Wars, I think, did such an amazing job of taking these Joe Blow clones that we've seen throughout all this time, and Dave Filoni did such an amazing job of fleshing them out and really making them feel like they're their own people and not just a number, like a lot of people think the clones are.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm with you.
so I think I'd probably give it a 7.5.
It's probably
if
where
I was
I'm
gonna
at.
say.
I might be a little higher, might be more like 8, but yeah, I think
Uh
Bad Batch was a good first show, a good
yeah,
first season for a new show. It's definitely a win for Kathleen Kennedy, is what it
yes,
is.
yes, I
All
agree.
right, let's get over to this Visions trailer though. So, uh,
I gotta ask you, Al, what are your thoughts on the Vision
um,
trailer?
I said this for any viewers watching. If you haven't seen Kyle and I react to the Eternals, the newest trailer that came out a couple days ago, go check that out because I said this in there where that trailer got me really hyped for the first time in a long time. Like I haven't seen a trailer that's really made me like jump out of my seat excited, but this did that for me. I loved everything I saw. I know they had that first featurette for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but this really got me excited. There's so much that's like old school Japan in Star Wars, and then we're getting like the kind of sci-fi takes that Japan likes to do with Star Wars. With like, there was the creation of the lightsaber where it looked super futuristic, where he's putting the crystal in it. Some of the fights look amazing. I love it. There's so many shots that I just absolutely love. This is going to be so awesome. To me,
I oh
Star Wars is What If, but better.
yeah, I couldn't believe how like I'm mind blown, and I didn't never realized how cool it would look just to see an animated lightsaber, like a Japanese animated lightsaber, like
Yeah.
walked in, uh, slapped in, and then set. I was like, oh, this is. I didn't know that I wanted to see that so badly. Ugh.
Yeah, there's the lightsaber too that the guy has on a staff, and like 5 lightsabers come out of it, and then it spins around. There's the shots of like a kid singing in before the pod race. Like there's some insane stuff. I'm replaying it just kind of as we're talking right now too,
Same,
just because
same.
I
I'm
wanna.
just trying to kind of going through and looking at all of the like just still frames of all of the wonderful animation that they have in
We
here.
know for sure we're getting something with Boba Fett, so that's the only thing that looks like it's staying within the canon. And I am curious where this falls under canon because there's some insane fights. Like there's this fight that looks like they're on a Star Destroyer. There's the lightsabers that can wrap around. I am just so excited that we get some Japanese style animation and creativity brought into Star Wars because sometimes it's the creativity that lacks, and they don't lack that over there. They come up with some of the most insane stories that end up being incredible.
Oh yeah. I I'm you know regardless of whether or not if it just goes like bonkers cuckoo 11 for like anime in some of the episodes, and then some of them are more of that like seven samurai, like we're gonna kind of like keep it down, keep everything at a simmer for most of the time. I'm so there for it. But dude, I don't think there's a single piece in here that doesn't look awesome to watch. I
There's
am
nothing for me at all.
so excited. Is there any particular one as you've like ran through here that is like really jumping out to you though?
I'm really interested. There's a shot of, um, it's kind of very gritty animation, but there's the shot, and it looks like it's from the same story of one of the guys pulling the lightsaber out as if it's a katana and it's igniting at the same time. So it really looks like he's pulling out a sword. And then later, that same character stops a lightsaber with the force in between his hands. That one really sticks out to me. And then there's a couple shots with looks like our main character will be the rabbit where
Mm-hmm.
she's flying on the umbrella, and it's got very like My Neighbor Totoro vibes to me.
Yeah,
And there's another shot where there's a droid pouring tea, and then it immediately cuts to a wide open field of somebody in a helmet looking around with like a device, it looks like. And those feel very Miyazaki to me. Those shots
right.
feel very Miyazaki. And those stuck out to me. Some of the stuff that looks like we're getting like Astro Boy is really interesting. And I remember seeing that in the featurette where the guy's like, I want to do Astro Boy in Star Wars because it makes no sense why we don't have that type of story in Star Wars. I
Right.
like that. I mean, any shot where there's people blocking things with the force, like the stun rings, um, I like, but is there
That's dope.
anything? Oh, I do like this one too of the old man with the two red lightsabers crossed against him. It looks like that's from the same one as the guy pulling out the lightsaber like a katana.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
this one is really intriguing me because it looks so gritty and realistic. But what is sticking out to you?
There's one particular animation one that I know that really stuck out to me when we watched the like featurette trailer in the beginning. And I think it's like of a master and his apprentice that are like walking away from the ship, and then they come across the old man with the like white hair tassels, and then like the white mustache. It's at the 23 second mark in the trailer. Um but it just kind of it's them locked in
Oh, yeah. It's the
yes
same old man.
yes, where his like hilt straight up is a katana, and then it like blasts out a little bit at the base and then shoots up. That one looks so cool to me.
I
But
like that shot because the old man's eyes are closed, and you
yeah,
know that if that is what I mean, there is red and blue, so maybe it's not master and apprentice, and maybe it's just like the youngling who the Padawan, and all of a sudden it's like I'm so much better than you, and you don't think so of the old wise guy, and he's got his eyes closed. There's also
yeah.
that shot at the end where let's see if I can find it. It's the two lightnings hitting each other, um, the two force
Oh,
lightnings. Yeah, it's this
yeah.
one, and we've never seen a a light side user use lightning before, and I don't know where this is going to land in the canon. I don't know if this is going to be considered canon or if it is
Mhm.
kind of going to be like what if. I assume it's going to be considered canon, but like we've never seen that before. We've never seen lightsabers wrap around another lightsaber. We're going to get some really cool storytelling in this, and I am so hyped for it. Was there any
I
other
oh,
shots for you?
I'm stoked. Also, not to mention like the kids on TikTok have just been like going cuckoos for coconuts
I
on
love
this
it.
one. And one of my favorite ones that they've been doing is it's like, oh, is it like a drug? It's like, no, it's even better. It's from
It's true.
Japan.
I really like the shot at the end of the girl being chased on the ice and she flips off. It is that looks so beautiful to me where she blocks a bunch and then it slows down as she goes in to cut them. It reminds me of one of the few times I'll praise Rise of Skywalker when Rey jumps and then cuts the TIE fighter.
Yes,
But
love
this,
that moment.
will probably end up being way better. Like she just slashes it. Who is this little girl, and why does she have a lightsaber, and why is she just incredibly awesome? Is she a Jedi? Is she a Padawan? Did she find the lightsaber? It's like a dark blue lightsaber too, like a teal. I like it.
Oh, I'm so stoked for this. Also, not to
Also,
mention your Grievous fans out there with the girl, like the Inquisitor looking girl that's got six freaking arms
yeah,
and each one with a lightsaber. Oh god, it's so cool.
I hope what Disney does is they do something similar where they have a little featurette, or I'd prefer a documentary, but a featurette after of these creators talking about it. I would pay good money to hear why they did what they did. I mean, they put out the featurette, so I assume they're doing something like that. I mean, they just dropped. I haven't watched yet, but I know they're about to drop the behind the scenes footage of Mark Hamill on Mandalorian playing his younger self. Um,
Yeah, there's
so
actually a small like snippet floating around on YouTube right now. Did you
yeah,
see that one yet?
I've seen it.
Oh,
They're about to put out another documentary about it. But I also really like the shot with the like rabbit who says I accept this responsibility, and she's taking it as if she's in like a dojo. And I like that I just where is this going? Why is this a Luke style story? Is this after the Empire and the Jedi are fallen? And it makes sense to have a character like this. I know at first I was kind of like, of course, that you usually have a some type of animal character in anime, but it makes sense. I mean, we're in the galaxy far, far away. There's
right.
thousands and thousands and thousands of aliens. I'm all for it. There's not a shot in here I don't love. And I really want to see this TIE fighter fight. This dude like shoots a lightsaber at somebody. What is going on here? It's like a young
Oh,
Luke Skywalker is what he looks like, but and I like that they put it in Japanese for this trailer. when it ends, it says Star Wars and it says Visions in Japanese. I think that is awesome.
That's very cool. Oh,
Any other
I
thoughts?
am just so unbelievably excited for this. Like on I mean, when we watched the featurette, I remember my initial reactions just being like, "Yeah, I'm like this is going to be cool. I'm excited about this." But like this brought my hype level to like 10
Yeah,
immediately watching this. And
yeah.
what did we get an official release date yet?
It's September 22nd, streaming September
September
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Next
next
month.
month.
We're literally a month and 2 days away, and I can't wait. I'm glad they're dropping these weekly because I want to watch, rewatch, double watch, triple watch. I'm so pumped for this.
Oh, it's going to be so
Anyway, all right.
cool.
Let's get to the big kahuna.
Heck
Let's
yes.
get on over to Rogue One. We're finally done with the shows outside of Mandalorian, but again, Mandalorian compared to the Clone Wars is nothing. It's nothing. Um, so let's just, I guess, go over overall thoughts. Tanner, what do you think about Rogue One? Rewatch it. When was the last time you'd watched it? By the way,
2 months ago.
really?
I was gonna bring this one up that I think this might be one of my most rewatched Star Wars movies. Not I do think episode 3 and probably episode 2 are really up there. I mean, Empire and A New Hope are just straight up my like number one rewatches of all time. But I honestly think I'm getting to the point where Rogue One might actually be approaching episode 2 and episode 3 like amount of rewatches that I've done. Um
Yeah.
it's this
Fair.
weird thing that like the more I watch this movie, the more and more I just love it. I just think that there's a lot of amazing Star Wars things in here. We never see a well, okay, scratch that. We do see a
We do
lightsaber
see a lightsaber
once.
in one of the maybe the best moments I've ever seen a lightsaber.
Yes. Oh my god. But like this is such a good and consistent Star Wars movie. And if there is one, I know I've harped on this issue multiple times in either Clone Wars or Mandalorian or so on, where sometimes the adversaries that we're up against do not feel like they don't really have much to them. Sometimes it just feels like you're fighting a paper tiger. But
Yeah.
something that I love that Rogue One does is when they're facing down against the Empire, they feel scary at times. Because not only are we seeing all of these other people around them that are getting axed left and right by Imperial
Yeah.
stormtroopers, but like, uh, not to mention by the end of the movie, like everyone dies. I explicitly remember this movie coming out around when Suicide Squad was released. And one of my thoughts at that time, I was like, huh, this is a better Suicide Squad movie than Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it is it's very the Seven Samurai, or not Seven Samurai, the Magnificent Seven. It's very Magnificent Seven, and that's when I remember when the marketing came out, they said that's what the story is going to be. Um, and I know a lot of people don't like Rogue One. I know there's a good solid size of fans that aren't liking Rogue One because they don't feel they get attached to the characters. I don't know. I assume you haven't finished Catalyst. I haven't. I mean, I read it already, but I haven't finished it either. But I did get a good halfway through it, and even the halfway through still adds a
A
lot to
lot.
this movie because you get a lot about Galen. So when the movie opens and it's the two of them arguing. I mean, I've read it, but I know you get far enough in, even those first few chapters, to really get a strong grasp on their relationship and where Galen's at. Jin is young in the book, and so it's if you haven't read Catalyst and you really like Rogue One, you should really read the book or get it on Audible because it is really good, and we will finish it this summer. Got a little harder getting out of routines, but um, yeah, Rogue One is exactly what I hoped it was. I know, I believe this is correct that Gareth Edwards went into Disney and said, "I've got a pitch for you," and he said, I remember reading that he showed Disney the title for the first Star Wars and said, because it says the rebels, a bunch of rebels, died to get these plans, and he says, "I want to tell that story. Will you let me kill everybody? Will you let me tell this story?" And it's one of the few things Kathy Kennedy did that worked. Um, although there was director problems as well, where she didn't love where he was going with the movie, so they brought somebody else in to kind of help. I can't remember which director they brought in, but they brought in another director uncredited to kind of help and do things. And I believe it was his idea to do the Vader scene, but I can't remember.
I
But I
think you're
love
right.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, like, it. It's just Star Wars. It is. It is.
Tony Gilroy was the director. He just popped
Tony
into my head.
Gilroy,
He just
solid.
came into my head. Sorry.
Uh, the only weirdly enough, I know when I initially watched this movie that my number one complaint about it, and I mean I say it's a complaint, is at the beginning at times still feels a little fast paced. It sometimes like jumping from planet to planet can feel a little jarring, but the more and more I watch it, the less and less I feel like I can really level that criticism. Maybe that's one, just because I've rewatched it so many times, and two, like you're talking about, just getting into Catalyst a little, like as we're halfway through the book and getting in that far, getting a lot more of a relationship with who Galen is, and not to mention who Lyra is, who I mean, literally is just within like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then she's gone. It really just kind of like fleshes out this family dynamic that's between all of them.
Yeah.
Also, not to mention our introduction to Cassian Andor in the beginning. Boy, if there's something that I love that this movie really does, is that we've always seen the rebellion as this like they're always this like high and mighty, very hopeful. We're fighting the Empire, we're fighting the good fight. But when we first get introduced to Cassian and we start to get like learn more about some of these people that are in the rebellion, they're like, nah, we've done some really terrible and dirty things to
Yeah.
accomplish the things that we've needed to do. Uh
Yeah.
and I love that they're showing that side of the rebellion
I agree
in
because
this
we don't
movie.
get it very often. I do want to mention because I was looking it up. In
Yeah.
2018, Tony Gilroy opened up a little bit to the Hollywood Reporter about coming in.
Mhm.
And he says he was brought in after the director's cut and he was never interested in ever doing Star Wars. And he thinks that's part of the reason they brought him in. And he basically, from what it sounds like, did a re-edit. So I might have been wrong on the Vader part. I mean, they may have shot stuff. I'm not seeing that. But he says that the movie is about sacrifice. And that was something in the first cut that I don't think they figured out. That the movie is just,
Mm.
everyone's going to die. It's a ballsy thing that Disney did, letting everybody die.
Happy they did, because you know
Yeah,
how much of a bummer that would have been if they had just been like floating in an escape pod,
yeah.
like by
I
the end
love
of the
it. I
movie.
love the two of them too because I remember when the movie got out, um, people were like, "Are they lovers?" And I was like, "They're embracing each other. They're people who didn't like each other who ended up going on this adventure, this suicide mission, and they knew they were probably going to die. And when death faces them, they say, 'Hey, let's just embrace each other. We're about to die. Thank you for everything.' It's way better than the kiss of gratitude, JJ." Anyway, I love that. I know when the movie first got out, people really harped on how Tarkin looks. I walked out of the theater and I remember people being like, "That movie sucked," and the only thing they could tell me was they didn't like that Tarkin looked like that, and they were all super big gamers, and I was like, "That looked better than any video game you've ever played. It looks light years better than every video game you ever played." It does stick out. I think him and Leia both stick out. You can tell that it's CGI over the face. But fun fact to the people who will defend how better Marvel is, you can tell young Robert Downey Jr. is wearing a face. Like you can tell it's CGI. It works a little better because it's the actual actor getting young, de-aged. It's not
Right.
a different actor, but you can tell. So people need to get over it. I think he looks awesome. I think that scene's awesome. I'll say this: one of my only complaints was of the movie, and I think I've talked about it on the show. Was the Vader scene where he says, "Don't choke on your aspirations." I love it now. After watching Clone
Love
Wars,
it.
I completely switched my tune. I was like, because I remember thinking he said it very like tongue in cheek, where he kind of was giggling. He doesn't at all. he says it in a very Anakin Skywalker way, and I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was such an Anakin thing to do, and I wonder if it was. I think watching Clone Wars and this rewatch in order is what changed my tune on it, because I think the people that whined about it hadn't rewatched anything in a long time or have never. So, what do you think of
I
that? You love it?
I love that moment. I maybe this is just from like uh Vader has this really just like dark dad humor at
He
times.
does.
And there's been so many comics where I just like he'll drop these little bits of like, oh, that was a real dad joke that you just dropped there, and then stab someone with a lightsaber, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god. And it really works for him. It
Yeah. I think what is interesting about it too is when that scene comes up, you go, that's Anakin Skywalker in there. This guy's got some good. And then the next time we see him, he's overlooking the battle. And then right after, he obliterates everybody and we get Vader. And I like that they're showing the dichotomy there. They're showing the differences and the light and the dark that's still at battle within him.
mhm.
Um, I love this movie. I will say too, I'm very excited for the Cassian show with K2SO. K2SO is a top 3 droid for me. He is so good. He is C3PO humor, but in a more like battle ready body, and I love it. Um,
Also very
my,
sarcastic, and
yes, I
just kind of
love it.
says it how it is. Oh, I
I
love
love
it.
it. I love it. I love too at the end that moment where she gives him the blaster and he says, "You were full of surprises, Jin," or so, or you continue to surprise. Um, I love it, but I'm very excited for their show. The history of Cassian being growing up a big separatist and then switching to the rebellion, I think is awesome. But I will say, watching the movie this time, I was sitting there. I said this out loud to myself. I said it was right after, or it was when Donnie Yen is walking, saying, "I'm one with the Force with me," and the blasters are missing him. And I was like, I want their show. I want a buddy cop style show with those two prequel era defending Jeddah. I was like, that would be awesome to me
Oh, that'd
because
be
I
so
want to
cool.
know more why Donnie Yen, he's not a force wielder, but he feels the force. He's part of it. I love that. It reminds me of that quote George Lucas has where he says, the force is like yoga. Anybody can do it, but some people are just better at it. And it makes me feel like Donnie Yen just shows up to the class and he's just trying to keep up. But anyway, I'm talking enough. What else you got on Rogue One?
Uh it's I just Donnie. I do kind of wish it'd be fun to get those characters fleshed out, but I really like it.
I do
But I
too.
wanted, dude. One of the reasons that this show for me is like one of the most rewatched ones is that space battle on the back half of the movie. Oh my god, it is probably one of my favorite looking space battles I've ever experienced in
It's
Star
one of the
Wars.
best in Star Wars. I
It,
mean,
it
what are the best? I
so
mean,
I
I
have a
think
lot of memories of Return of the Jedi space battle.
yes, the Return of the Jedi might be the best. I think.
Yes.
Um,
Um, but it doesn't like sometimes don't get me like there's a lot of action that's happening in there, a lot of like starfighter action that's happening, but the ships don't really seem to do much. They just kind of seem to be like floating there,
Yeah.
just kind of like
Limited
doing their
technology too at the
right.
time. And I think
Exactly.
Revenge of the Sith opener is a good space battle, but you only get it for like 4 minutes, and half of it is Anakin shooting off the droids, and then they land.
Yup.
Like this is a space battle. Like that's what's
Absolutely.
awesome about it. Because I mean, there's a space battle in Rise of Skywalker, but it's not amazing. I don't think. I do like the people showing up to help, but I think it could have been done better.
Yep.
One of my favorite scenes in Rogue One space battle is when uh, Bodhi's calling up and he's like, "This is Rogue One," and Admiral Radis is like sitting, and all of a sudden he like perks up and he zooms over and he's like looking down at the planet
Look.
like he can see him, and he's like, "We hear you, Rogue One. What's up?" Like I love it. Admiral Radis is awesome. I know they talked. It was supposed to be Admiral Akbar for a bit, And then
Right.
I think I don't remember why they switched it because I think Akbar would have been fine. It might have been a little bit too much on the
On
nose for
brand.
Star Wars, but
Right.
how awesome is it when you get the Captain Syndulla?
Oh, love it.
I love it. I
Oh,
love it.
also, not to mention, you actually see the ghost like parked out
Yeah.
in front of Yavin 4. I was like, oh, this is
And you just hear
amazing.
over the intercom as they're getting ready to go on a suicide mission, Captain Syndulla to the hangar or whatever.
Yeah,
It's so awesome. It's so
love it.
awesome. Those little see that's why I think, Gareth Edwards said, "Okay, my movie is not exactly what you wanted. Bring in Tony Gilroy, fix it up." But he sat there, talked to Dave Filoni. He's clearly a fan of the franchise. And he got to take a spin-off movie and have a little fun with it. I think the R2D2 and C3PO cameo is awesome. I think it's perfect for what Star Wars can be with those type of cameos. I
Quick
think
and
adding
cute.
Hera in there, yeah, I
Hmm.
think those are what works. And I mean, JJ did it a little bit. He put the ghost in the fight at the end. That's fine.
Sure.
I like that. His movie just sucks. This is what it's going to be every week. I'm just going to crap on this movie until we get there. I'm not ready. We're
Uh,
gonna need to make that episode. I think the whole thing just about Rise of Skywalker, unless there's massive news, because I'm gonna need a good 8 years to complain. But
oh, there'll be scenes that I'm just consistently ripping apart as we
yeah,
move along that
I
movie.
might try and watch that whole trilogy back to back to back. I don't know if I'll like be able to actively do it, but I might like make that my priority, even though I know we'll talk about it weeks later. And I want to really take notes because I really want to look at the storytelling, and because I know we're going to talk about that a lot, and from
Yeah,
JJ to Ryan to JJ, so it might be easier to not wait a week and just go, but I will see.
yeah.
I'm
So
watching a lot of stuff.
circling back to
Yeah,
like one of my
back to
favorite
Rogue One.
scenes, especially with like K2SO, was the one where K2 they're on Jeddah, and all three of them stroll up to the stormtroopers. And there's that moment of like, what are you doing with these prisoners? And it's like, we're going over, and you just quiet, and he smacks
Yeah,
them up the head.
it's
It's like,
so funny.
and if you mouth off again, there's a fresh one where that came from.
Yeah, it made me go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to cut you
the
off.
moment that he you see the actor for Cassian as he's like covering his hand, like trying not to like show that he's laughing to the camera, because that whole bit was just completely ad-libbed. Oh god, I love it. You were saying?
Um, I was just gonna say, I like it. I was fine when they announced that he will not be in the show. He's supposed to not be in season one, and now I'm like, why can't he be in season one? I
Right.
have a feeling he will be. I think it just will be at the tail end.
Yeah. I gotta wonder if it's just like something couldn't happen with Alan Tudyk. Maybe Tudyk's just busy, but I know how much Alan Tudyk loved that role, so I really wouldn't think that I wouldn't think that he'd be like, nah, I don't really feel like working
No, I think he's
doing that
down. I
one.
think it's a story thing because I remember when
Mhm.
he came, they brought both of them out at D23 a couple years ago or Celebration, and when they announced that the show was finally going to actually start filming, and I remember he made the joke where he's like, "I want to call this K Too Fast, Too Furious," or something like that, and it was so funny. Alan Tudyk is amazing.
He's a bloody I there's a good like snippet of him in all like the weird acting roles that he's been in, of like him doing the chicken from Moana. And
Yeah,
him sitting in the booth going "Bark, bark, 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 bark," and then he walks
it's
out and he's like, I went to Juilliard for this.
it's so good. Alan Tudyk is a treasure of a character
Love him.
actor.
Love him.
Anyway, so
So back to the movie.
yeah, I love everything that goes on. It's a great space battle. It feels like a western. I love the connection with her dad. Um, the only part I'm like, why is this in the movie? Is Saw Gerrera doing the like, what's it called, like the ugali or something like that?
Bugali.
Bugali, yeah.
Bugali.
And
It literally serves no purpose. It's
no, but I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, why would they put this in the movie? Obviously, there was probably a whole scene of him getting tortured that was cut. But I was sitting there being like, we just watched Clone Wars and Rebels, and we watch this man lose his sister and just go so deep into his crazy self. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is something he would do at this stage. Like when you think about him in Rebels and some of the crazy stuff he does, it's like, all right, this guy shows up, so he's got this monster that he can torture him with. Let's torture the guy. Like he's crazy. And what I did notice about Saw, and I
Mhm.
think that this was intentional, he acts crazy. He does the crazy thing with the monster. And
Right.
then when Jin shows up and Jin says, "You abandoned me. I was 16." And he said, "People were starting to figure out who you were. I had to let you go for the cause." And I think at the end, I think you see a switch in the performance, which Forrest Whitaker does a great job. But I think you see a switch where I think he sees a little bit of his sister in Jin. And I think at the very end, he says, "You know what? Jin, save the rebellion, save the dream. I can't do it anymore." And he accepts his fate, goes down with his ship, and he calls it. And I think Jin kind of switches that. I think you see it while he watches Jin watching her dad. They cut to him a lot, and
Mhm.
he looks at her kind of a little more intense at first, and then a little bit more. To me, it looked longing. I went back and like rewatched that scene, and I
Yeah.
think you do see a little bit of a switch in him. And I do think that was intentional, that I don't think fans talk about a whole lot, because I think he sees his sister in her. And I
Yep.
think that's what Forrest Whitaker was trying to do, is he was like, she's no longer a kid. She's now the age my sister was at when my sister's killed. And she's
Yeah.
fighting in a war like my sister was. And it made me appreciate those scenes, even if it is a bit ridiculous, a little more, because I
No,
started thinking about it that way.
I never even really kind of drew that line of thinking, but like I really like that. I really like what you brought up there of like making that connection. That's really cool. I like that a lot. It
I'm sticking with it. It makes the Bugatti.
canon, head canon. It
It
makes
makes it work.
Bugatti. The Bugatti will find
Yeah, and
out.
it is. I do like Riz Ahmed's performance is interesting, because now I've seen him in so much more. I hadn't seen him in a whole lot when Rogue One came out. He plays
Hmm.
Bodhi, the captive,
Right.
because he's in Nightcrawler, which he does a great job in, and then he was just in Sound of Metal last year and had an Oscar nomination. He's talented, and his performance is so interesting in this movie. Why they took him in that direction, because he's so timid, and I just that director's cut, Tony Gilroy cut down, was probably 3 hours long, with so much on Bodhi and all these characters and really where they're from. And when he
Right.
realized that this is a sacrificial story, it needs to be more Seven Samurai, because or the Magnificent Seven, because when you see the Magnificent Seven, you only get background on like two characters, and the
Right.
rest are just show up. So I
See,
think that's the choice they made, but there's something there, because he's so timid until the end, and then he finally has the courage, and then gets killed. But
it makes.
go ahead.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one of like, do you think that the story would be better served by, because this turns into that weird it turns into this weird balance that you tend to find, especially in the editing room, I would say, of, do you think that this would be better served by by fleshing out some of our characters, having a little bit more of a background? I mean, obviously we get what we get with Jin. That makes sense. That's great. I think that we can infer a lot that happens with Cassian and a few of the emotional moments that he has with Jin. Um, but do you think that this movie would be better served if we had a couple of scenes of Bodhi in surrounded by Imperials and understanding why he's there and what he's doing, or maybe even a few extra scenes of our bromance on Jeddah?
Yeah.
Do you think it would be better, or do you think that that's going to cause a problem since this movie's already 2 hours and 14 minutes?
So I think this movie is great. I think a
Hmm.
lot of casual to diehard Star Wars fans think this is the best of any of the new movies. I think there's a big camp with that. I fall into that. I think it's one of the best. It might be second best. Well, I need to we'll get to Force Awakens. I'm curious to see if I dip on it after Rise of Skywalker, because I haven't watched it since. But um, I think the movie is good as it is. Now, that being said, if this movie did the Blade Runner treatment, I think that would be really cool. If they had announced we're going to put out on the 10-year anniversary on the DVD, you can get an extended director's cut, the original director's cut. And it's right now I can hear Kyle screaming, "No more director's cuts!" Because it's in such a bad light right now from the Snyder cut, because there was such a crazy pushback for it, and then there's now the let's have the David Ayer cut, and there's a rumor there's a JJ cut of Episode 9, and he didn't actually make that Star Wars movie. There's all these rumors, but I think if Kathy says, "Hey, it's been 10 years since Rises or Rogue One's come out. We have the footage, we have that cut. Let's put that original cut that Tony Gilroy put down on the DVD release." I'd buy it. You'd make money. Or put it on Disney Plus for a special premiere. I think that would be cool. I think the movie stands on its own, and I think that's the Blade Runner treatment, because when the first Blade Runner came out, it wasn't the exact cut he wanted, and then they've done like 4 different director's cuts since. But it helps when you own the property, which he does. Ridley Scott does, but or maybe Fox did. I can't remember, but then you eventually get what turns into the best cut, which is his director's cut. Or you look at Lord of the Rings. If everybody acted the way you did with director's cuts now, we wouldn't have the extended editions of Lord of the Rings, which is what you get yelled at if you haven't seen those. That's the only true way to see it. So I think if you do that treatment and you say, "Hey, let's put out that cut and give a little bit more backstory," I'd be all for it. But we don't need it. I do think it would help, but you don't need it. It's not required, I don't think.
Right.
What do you think on your question?
I agree. I think I tend to agree with you. But I mean, like, it's funny, especially in our movie club and whatnot, of us kind of like observing or watching different movies of like various length. I if there's a criticism that I might have to level against movies that I feel as though that have been coming out since like 2012, maybe. Sometimes I feel like we get really long-winded with movies.
Sure.
That and this is not me saying that like I don't like those long movies, because I really do love to like get in and sit down and watch long movies. Infinity War is a perfect example. I love Django.
Endgame too. Yeah,
They're
Django.
like they're all like 3 hour movies, and I absolutely adore the experience. But sometimes I do get the sense that some movies they just spend too much time there.
Yes.
Of like you are spending way too much time on this movie when we could honestly shave down a half an hour, and it really keeps me in the story a lot better. Because there gets to a point of longevity in a movie, and depending on the movie, where you're like, "Oh my god, can we move on to the next thing? Good lord."
And it's bad when that movie is only like an hour and 40 minutes, and it's like, holy cow. I think TV has shaped the way we view it now, though. I think if you put it on the DVD, you put it on Disney Plus, a director's cut special year thing, people will watch it because they can pause. Because I think people, when they have the ability to stop episodically, don't care how long a show is. But, I mean, unless it's like Lost or One Piece, then everybody will stop complaining how long it is. But I think when you do that, I think it works just fine. When you put a movie out in theaters, then it becomes a risky play. It's hit or miss. Are you going to get a movie that's way too long that drags, or are you going to get a movie like Wolf of Wall Street, which is 3 hours long, but just from start to finish, you're in it, you're invested, or Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Right.
So I think it just depends. A Rogue One director's cut, I would watch. I would watch the original Gareth Edwards cut.
Well, it's funny. I know even you bringing up like the Snyder cut and whatnot that I just finished. Like I watched that in 2 separate. Like it's a 4-hour thing, and
that thing is long.
But I watched it in 2 separate parts, just exactly like you're talking about. It's on a streaming service. I was able to sit down. I think I was working on something. I was working on something while I was watching it, but it's like you get that time period of like, okay, I can pause and then I'll come back to this at some point in time. And streaming is really great for being able to do that. The only kicker is like with something like Netflix that you run into the potential of it just being gone. Whereas things like Disney and HBO, they don't, once the content's there, it's there. And that's
Yeah.
nice. But and that's why oh man, it's such a nice thing. Don't get me wrong, I would still own all of the DVDs and Blu-rays of all of the Star Wars movies, but I mean, like, the fact that all of it's just on easy access on Disney Plus
Yeah.
is so good. I
I
love it.
actually said this the other day to somebody. Actually, I told this to you similar, but like I just bought these for any anime fans, these special hardcover Full Metal Alchemist manga
Yep.
because and I've read the story, I've seen the story, but like Star Wars, this is a shelf. I need this on my shelf, and that's
Yeah.
what I need.
Oh, basically just sometimes with some of your Star Wars content out there, they can be really kind of upfront about like, hey, you remember the original trilogy? That's the
Yeah.
thing. We're gonna show it in front of your face. This movie, for the most part, is really good about not doing that. It just has like one or two moments that I can honestly think of it. But I'm shocked as to how many people dislike this movie. Um, and a lot of the times I feel as though that some of the criticism that's being leveled, I just I don't know, maybe it's just a personal thing for me, but I just feel like it doesn't really hold as much water. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Will you repeat the question? Sorry, I
Oh,
got my
no
Yeti
problem.
to connect again, so
It's
it
with a
zipped
lot
out
of
for a second.
with you talking about how a lot of people that didn't weren't a big fan of it. I personally had some of the same experience too. A couple of friends, like there's some friends that I think really love it, but I do have a fair section of friends that are really don't like it. And I just sometimes the criticism that gets leveled, I just don't feel like carries that much water. Maybe that's just a personal thing. But I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
do they
sorry,
carry
finish.
water?
I think I mean, it's hard to tell somebody that their personal preference is wrong.
Oh, for sure.
But I think when people go out and connect to the characters enough, that's like, okay, you know, you'll praise other movies for being so good because they connect to characters, but like this was never meant to. Because I got in this argument before where it's like some movies are the way they are. Like that's just how they are. Like they came out and said this is going to be a Magnificent Seven movie. That's what this movie's going to be. If the people who complain have never seen the Magnificent Seven, or they've only seen the remake, which was not very good. You go watch that original Magnificent Seven or the original Magnificent Seven samurai movie from Japan, you're going to be like, this is incredible because those movies are amazing. And when they said that that's what they're going to do, that's what I went in expecting. Not a lot of character development and a lot of death. And that's what you get. So people who don't know that walk in and they're like, I didn't connect to anybody. And it's like, that's not the point. And it's like, well, it is for me. But there is a camp that just, they'll hate it because they have to hate it. They can't ever like Star Wars. I actually have a friend who I love dearly who once admitted to me, I don't like Star Wars because everybody likes Star Wars. And at least I was honest. I'll take that because at least he was like being honest with me. He won't put up a fight. But I'll say this. I actually told this to a good friend of ours the other day, and I'll share it on here because it's about Star Wars. Taika Waititi was the perfect person to come in and do the next big Star Wars movie over Patty Jenkins. Because right now, Taika Waititi can't do wrong. And for the camp of people that will hate on everything Star, I'm telling you right now, that movie will be loved by everybody. I guarantee it. Unless he makes a horrendous movie that everybody universally hates, which won't happen because it's Taika, everyone will love it. I'm telling you right now, the people who throw the toxic Star Wars fans who throw huge fits about everything Star Wars love Thor Ragnarok. I bet you there's not a one that doesn't. And they've already decided when it was announced that that will be their favorite Star Wars movie. And when he actually does make a good Star Wars movie, the people who will look at it with a critical eye will end up liking it. And that movie will be the one to put everybody at rest. I guarantee it. I told this to my buddy the other day, and he was like, that makes so much sense. I told it to Alex Augusta. I said, and he was, because he can be a little bit of a cynic when it comes to Star Wars. And he was
Right.
like, He's like, that's how I feel. Like, I already know I'm going to like Taika's Star Wars movie because it's Taika. And I was like, see, gotcha.
Right.
Because they already, the people who don't like the JJ stuff or the Ryan stuff went in not liking Ryan Johnson movies or went in not liking or not having seen them. So it's easier to hate. Taika's only made awesome movies, and the last big movie he made, everybody loved. And then he's going to come out with Thor: Love and Thunder. Unless Thor: Love and Thunder sucks, which I doubt it, it's going. And if Thor: Love and Thunder is even better than Ragnarok, it's not even going to be close. Everyone's going to be obsessed with his Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had to get my hot take out.
I agree. It's also, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I know that there are some incredibly toxic Star Wars fans out there, but it bums me out to see a number of friends around me that are like, I don't enjoy Star Wars because of the people that watch Star Wars, which really makes me pretty sad honestly, to hear something like that.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I just kind of come from the camp of like, you should try to enjoy the content. You watch and enjoy the content. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Don't let all the ancillary stuff be affecting your opinion. But not say, I mean, there is what I would call a vocal minority of really terrible Star Wars fans out there. But in what kills me is like, you go to a convention or any one of the Star Wars celebrations, San Diego Comic-Con, Gen Con, all of these other places where you get to actually see and be around other just people that adore Star Wars. And you really, it's this just love and good-natured fun that everybody has around each other. And that's where you get to see some of the best fans of all time, because it's just people coming there to share something that they love with each other. And I love that. I absolutely adore that. And that's where a lot of the times it's like, those people that really love those things aren't the people out there that are like screaming from the rooftops. They're just, they're enjoying it. You know,
I'm going to read the image you sent to me. I had also seen this tweet, and I actually retweeted it earlier, but I'm going to butcher this name. Raul Kaholi tweeted this. He said, Star Wars has and will always be a restaurant. We all love eating there. We don't like every dish on the menu, and that's okay. You're not supposed to. Order what you like, avoid what you don't, and don't worry about what others are having, and don't be rude to the staff, is what he said. And then yours didn't have this on the official tweet that I saw, but then it's Dex going, hey, old buddy. And I love that.
Hey, old buddy.
But I think that's very true. I think that's one of the best analogies for Star Wars I've ever heard. And
100%.
The few people who actually get this far in our videos are like, why are they not talking about Rogue One anymore? And it's like, this is a big part of Rogue One, because Rogue One was one of the first movies that came out. It was the second movie that came out, and people loved The Force Awakens. And then people came out of Rogue One being like, I don't know if I like that very much. And then over time, I think it's gotten even bigger and bigger. But do we want to talk about where this will end in our lists here?
Oh, yes. Let me pull up the Star Wars rankings.
So I still stick episode 2 at the bottom, episode 1 above it. And then I would go, what have we all watched? And then I would probably go, this is tough. I would go top down. Rogue One, I think, is at the top for me now. I like Rogue One more than I like Revenge of the Sith, even though I love Revenge of the Sith. So I probably go Rogue One, episode 3, Rebels, Clone Wars, 1, 2. Oh, Solo's in there. I'd probably go Solo 1, 2.
I think I go like literally, I have the exact same as you. But the only difference in that is the placement of Solo. I do Solo above episode 2, whereas episode 2 is like bottom of the tier.
No, that's so you have it under episode 1. I would go Solo.
I have it under. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I have Solo higher than those two. I like Solo more than those two. And it feels wrong to me to have Solo so low, because I actually very much enjoy Solo. But Rogue One, though, is after rewatching all these, it by far to me is the best. Like so far, like I love it. It's so fun. It's so energetic. Jin is such a great main lead and great heroine in Star Wars and in storytelling. And I love it. I love too that we get a Magnificent Seven with a woman in the lead. We don't have that in any of the Magnificent Seven movies. So that's cool. And Felicity Jones.
Okay.
She was supposed to be a superstar after this. And it's a bummer that she's now been doing a little bit more indie projects, unless that's what she wants to do. But I love her. She's amazing.
I think she slayed the role as Jin. Oh my God. I think
so good.
I think all of the, well, maybe like you're talking about, I think Bodhi might be the only one where I walk away and I'm like,
see, I like Bodhi,
really, yeah,
but I think his performance is just interesting. And to me, it's not an actor problem. That's a director problem.
100%. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not trying to say that I don't think that it's an actor problem. I 100% think that that's just the direction they took. That he's just not a super duper memorable character to me.
Yeah.
Maybe is the best way to put it. Whereas like Jin is she is a firecracker, and oh my God, do I love her. Cassian Andor, I really love kind of the dark side that exists in him. And then I'm totally forgetting the characters' names of
Donnie Yen.
For Donnie Yen and the other guy. Well,
so
I'm
Donnie
not even
Yen,
a Star Wars fan.
Well, I don't think they say it much. His name is Shurit Imwi.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm gonna butcher his last name, Jang, something like that, plays Baze Malbus.
Baze Malbus. Okay.
Those are two questions we got to put on our next trivia battle.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I don't think they really say that. I think they say them once and that's it. I don't think they really I don't remember them referencing their name very much.
I don't even think they say Baze. I think they say the Donnie Yen's character.
Yeah.
But I explicitly remember that one. Which reminds me of the scene of where they're taking the rebel what was it? Saw's rebel cell is taking them away, and he throws the bag over his head, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind."
Yeah, I love that. I love that scene. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. He's got some good Star Wars humor, and that's another thing that Rogue One does well. Star Wars humor. It nails its Star Wars humor with K2SO, Jin, and everybody. It's Donnie Yen. It works. I like those two.
You're being rescued.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
So just to double check that I'm just looking at my list right now. So we started with Phantom Menace, then we went to Attack of the Clones, then we went to Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith, Solo,
Rebels,
and then Rebels and Rogue One. And okay, yes, perfect.
Now, so 4, 5, and 6, we're into the big kahunas,
dude. New Hope. New Hope's gonna come in and just trounce the listings. I can guarantee it's gonna be coming in at number 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's going to, which is there's a reason for it. But I will say I wanted to do Rogue One and New Hope back to back, but I'm not able to. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rewatch just the final battle of Rogue One, and then just because that's only 40 minutes, and then zip right on in, because they do complement each other, I think, very well. And I love that, like, then when you think about how Vader is watching on the thing as the ship's going away, I love that then later it's like, we know you have the plans, and she's like, I don't have any plans, and it's like, I was just at the space battle. You have the plans. And it's so funny. Also, I have to mention this because this is one of my favorite things. I know I'm pretty sure we've talked about this and you're not big on it. The opener of Last Jedi with kind of the dreadnought. They have this big thing about the dreadnought, right? And it's supposed to be like, oh, we're doing something unique. We're pulling a ship from Legends, and we're trying to do that. What I love about Rogue One Space Battle is I love when Admiral Raddus goes, I've got an idea. I need a hammerhead Corvette. And you're like, it's like my dad talking. He's like, I got an idea. And it's incredible. And I think that is such a great Star Wars idea to end the space battle. Let's take a hammerhead Corvette, boost the engines up, and slam it into their Star Destroyer to push it into the other Star Destroyer. I think that is so Star Wars. I think it's so great. I love it. And I love Admiral Raddus. Low-key might be better than Akbar. I'm saying it.
Oh,
And I
love
know
him.
fans are whining and they're shouting into the heavens. Akbar's got some great. What's great is Raddus gets what Akbar got. He gets a little bit of screen time and makes the most of it with like, it's a trap. And I need a hammerhead Corvette. I love
Bring
it.
up a hammerhead Corvette.
I love it. It's so good. It's so good. And then it's such a great way to
that
end
that visual too of like the disabled Star Destroyer just ripping into the other one. Oh, it looks so cool.
And it's unique. It's how do we do a space battle differently than just blowing something up? Okay, we do have to get the shield down, but how can we do that when there's not a reactor we can shoot it in? And also, gosh, episode 4 amps up even better now, I think, for Rogue One. They complement each other so well because now it's like, okay, we know that an engineer who was forced to be a part of it, the lead engineer was part of the rebellion without being part of the rebellion. And he put in a flaw that they found, they get the plans. And then we know that Luke Skywalker is going to be the one to get the shot in to blow up the reactor. It's awesome. I think it's great complementary storytelling. Kathy hit it. And this is why everybody loved her so much, because she knocked it out of the park with the first two. But
the batting average became interesting after that.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. All right, we should end this show. So guys, thanks for watching. Go check out everything else on Movie Meals. Thanks to the Patreon patrons. Go get some merch, everything down in the description. Yeah, and for another happy landing, we are out of here.
Bye-bye. You look unsettled, Director Krennic.
Too good.